My name is Roy, and my last name is Samathanam. I'm 43 years old. I'm a Canadian citizen, and I came to Canada in 1990. And since 1990, I've been in Canada. I came for the ethnic riots of 83, 58, and 77. My family was personally affected. And in 1990, I came to Canada because I was also rounded up in Colombo in 89 and kept for 3 days in custody, so I was released. Because of that, I decided to come to Canada and then claim refugee status, and I got my citizenship here. I'm a Canadian citizen. In 2005, I went back to Sri Lanka and I got married, and I was living in Colombo. At that time, there was no any major wars or any violence going on, so it was pretty peaceful, but not to the extent of 2004, 2003. But I went there and I was living with my wife, and in 2007 I was arrested by the Terrorist Investigation Division, TID, which comes under the IGP of the police, Sri Lankan police. But the special unit of TID is directly gets orders from the Defense Secretary and carry out orders from the Defense, even though they come under the IGP. And I was arrested and kept in custody in an illegal detention camp in Colombo, which is near the Colombo Harbour. It's called a terrorist investigation. It's just an old building, and there's next to the Navy Hospital, beside the Navy Hospital in Colombo, Colombo is near the harbour. When I asked them what I was arrested for, they said that I had a GPS, and GPS is a global positioning system which anyone can purchase in Canada, and that's the reason they asked. And they asked for a bribe of $50,000, and they brought it down to $25,000. So at that point, I mentioned to them that I just cannot pay that amount, and I will not pay because I have not done anything wrong. And they came into my house at 3 a.m. in the morning of 2007, September 14th, and they were yelling in Sinhala that they have to kill a Canadian tiger. And I come from Canada, I'm a tiger, and my wife was crying, and my wife was 2 months pregnant at that time, and my daughter was 1 year old, and she was crying too. And they blindfolded me, put me down, and then handcuffed me, and told my wife that they'll release me in 15 minutes. They just want to get a statement, and took me to downtown Colombo, and then kept me there in the detention. Detention is there's a cells downstairs where they're keeping about 50-60 people in a 4x8 cell. But I was kept upstairs in the office, and handcuffed to the table, and they were keeping on abusing and punching me, just kicking. Whenever they walk around, they just kick me once, kick me twice, and kept on doing this. And at that point, my wife managed to contact the Canadian embassy in Colombo, and the embassy came there. They couldn't see me right away, but then later on they came in, and the hitting and the abuse was a little bit less, but still physically and mentally they really tortured me. They kept me handcuffed all the time, and I couldn't, even if I want to go to the toilet, they have to take me, and that's only like once or twice a day. Since I was a diabetic and I didn't have my medication, I had to go to the washroom all the time, and I was not able to do that. My medications were not given on time, or I was not even having a single medication at all. And they didn't give me food for the first full day, and then later on they started to give me food every 2 times a day, and the food was horrible, and I just couldn't do it, but I kept on eating just to survive there. And the other detainees have been routinely tortured, sexually abused. Some of them are women, and even males have been sexually abused. The women will be brought for interrogation in my office, where I'll be sitting downstairs, and some of them will be they'll be made naked, and they'll be beaten up. Some of the guys they will insert iron rods, plastic Westlawn pipes into their private parts. They just insert it, and they kept on just torturing every single hour. And what they want is, they want them to sign a confession saying that they belong to the LTTE. So, and they will type out the confession, or they will write it, or they will make you to write, and then you have to sign. So I was kept under detention, even though I was a Canadian citizen, and even though the Canadian embassy used to visit me. I was kept under detention order for 1 full year, without the right for counsel. There was no lawyer. I was not produced in front of a judge, and the charges were just verbal, telling me that I belong to the LTT group, intelligence unit, and that I had a GPS, and I want to kill the ministers and kill at that time he was the president. He was the army commander in 2007, Major General Sarath Fonseca, all three commander, and I wanted to kill him in a hotel, and I was planning to kill him at the Golf Face Hotel in Colombo, and all kind of charges, false charges, just because I didn't want to pay the money of $25,000 or $50,000. What I told them was, if you have anything, you take me and produce me in courts, or get me a lawyer, which they denied. So technically, even the Canadian embassy couldn't do much at that time, but they assured that I get meals and water and a place to sleep. But again, I was always handcuffed, even when I was sleeping. So the beating was going on for the first 2-3 days, then it stopped, and what they'll do is they will do a sleep deprivation, in the sense they'll wake you up at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, or that kind of mental torture, and ask questions, and I'll be sleeping and they'll just wake me up at 3. So I think they want me not to sleep. So and they kept me there for a very long time, and they wanted me to sign a false confession. The false confession reads as that I was a LTT member, and I was sent by the LTT to Canada to organize certain events and certain things, and I belong to the intelligence unit, and they financed me, and that's how I came to Canada, which was 100% false. Then they wanted me to tell that I was planning to assassinate with another friend of mine. His name is Ruben. He's still in custody, to assassinate the general and other. It's called the B report. So the B report in the Attorney General Department clearly states that these are the charges, or planning, what I'm planning to do. But then later on, after 1 year, before that I didn't sign the confession, so they sent me to Busa in southern Sri Lanka, which is in Gaul. It's a hell. It's just hell. They took me to a place called Busa in southern Sri Lanka. They took me there, put me in a cell, which is dark and dirty, and there's no toilets, nothing at all, no lights. Kept me in a cell called A1 cell, which is the most dangerous place. Kept me isolated, no communication with other prisoners or guards. Just kept me there. They give me food through the cell. They open that, but I get only in the mornings. I get from 5 to 6. I get 1 hour where I can wash my face. I had to shower or do whatever, and there was not a water, because there was only 260 prisoners at that time, and other cells are like 6-7 in one. It's a very small cell. I think it's by 5 by 3 or 4 feet, and I was in there. So if they lock me up in the evening at 6 o'clock, 5:36, till the next day on, I have to if I want to go to a toilet, I have to use a plastic bag, sit on put it in a, I don't know, bucket or sit, and it was terrible. And then I had to urinate in a plastic, container, and just keep my everything till tomorrow morning or the next day morning to go and have a shower here. So this was humiliating, and this is even worse than hitting me. So this was mental torture repeatedly, day by day. I just couldn't take it. So, and the Canadian embassy was just helpless and clueless. There was certain legal areas they can get involved, certain things they cannot get involved. So because they are in a diplomatic, they are the embassy, right? So they have some protocols and everything. But anyways, the torture I witnessed in TAD Colombo and in the Busa in southern Sri Lanka was terrible, unbelievable. Women continuously being tortured, burned by cigarette butts in their breast, hang down and put gasoline into the shopping bags and tied in their heads, and continuous mental torture and sexual torture, and even sometimes they keep shouting and we can hear that. So and some of this torture which happens to women and men, I have witnessed them. I know the names of some of them. I know that they are ill still, they are not normal. I know that some Hindu priests were arrested, some fathers were arrested, still there. And they all been beaten up repeatedly, saying that they were LTT members, and they have to, if they want to be released, they have to sign a confession, a false confession. Confession is something where you go in front of a courts in Sri Lanka by Sri Lankan law. You go in front of a courts, in front of a judge, you tell them that I will confess, and after the judge will tell you, okay, you think about it and you come back, then you go and give the confession. That is confession under the present law. But the confession here is a normal police officer will come to you and tell you to write it down. So even in their terms, even in their law, that is not valid. This is what it is. And still, the defense ministry and the government politicians influence the judges so much. The police officer submits the confession, and the judge looks at it and says, yes, agreed. So under the Prevention of Terrorist Act, just associating with the inner terrorist organization or association or member of a LTT, you get 5 years just for one charge. This is under Prevention of Terrorist Act. It's a different law altogether from the normal laws. So for me, they said that I was an intelligence member, an association with intelligence, so that I'm looking into, and then having a GPS and aiding and abetting and all kind of charges and plotting to kill. So I might get around, I don't know, 20 years, 25 years. So this is just unbelievable. The system is so bad and the law is so unbelievable that I didn't even know. Even though I was born in Colombo, I studied in Colombo, all my friends are Sinhalese, my classmates are Sinhalese, and we have enough of friends who are in the circle of the political and military and police, and this has happened to me as a Canadian citizen. I just can't imagine what will happen with others, and I know they're still suffering in jails and nothing has been done. Even the UN special report has been telling that continuous torture, rape, torture and pulling out of nails and sexual harassment is going on and on and on. There's enough of reports. You can go and check in, even in the internet or anywhere. There's nothing new. So what we are saying is this has to be stopped. This cannot continue. So what do? I come back to Canada as a Canadian citizen. I'm asking why this happened to me and what is the Canadian government going to do about it. Now I'm a Canadian citizen. The Canadian government is responsible for me. So what legal action is the government going to do? So unfortunately, because of the laws here, this calls on the Immunity Act. Under the Immunity Act, I cannot file a case against any Sri Lankan official in Canada. So the other option was to file it at the UNHCR. But the first option is to file a case in Sri Lanka. But technically, practically, you cannot file a case in Sri Lanka. I cannot go to Sri Lanka and file a case because every case which is filed in Sri Lanka has been rejected. I'll give an instance. There was a suspect called Nimala Ruben, was killed inside Magazine prison by guards. When the mother filed a fundamental right case at the Supreme Court in Sri Lanka, the judge said, oh, it's okay, he died because he's a LTT suspect, so he can die. This was the judgment by the Chief Justice of Sri Lanka. So just because he's a LTT suspect, he has to die in prison, that's okay. This is what the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice is saying. So there's no rule of law, There's absolutely no rule of law in the country of Sri Lanka. So something has to happen. I think Canada is a good example. Till today, I've been staying for 23 years in Canada. Till today, I was not being asked by a police officer or a law enforcement officer whether you are a Tamil or I want to arrest you because you are a Tamil. No. Just because I was a Tamil, I was arrested in Sri Lanka. So this race is the main thing. So this is discrimination and racism and whatnot, torture is just unbelievable. So now I come back to Canada, I filed a case in UNHCR, I'll wait and see what will happen. And once, if hopefully this Canadian law changes, I will file a case at the Supreme Court in Canada. If not, then I'll see what the UNHCR can do, and I need people to be aware of it, what's going on in the country. It's a surface level. When you arrive in Sri Lanka, you will not understand this. But any foreigner, not only me, there is Irish citizen, there's a UK citizen. Any foreigner who arrives in Sri Lanka and can be arrested under Prevention of Terrorist Act. And you can't do anything about it. You can be American, Canadian, European, whatever. You can't do anything about it. This is what we should understand. But in Canada or anywhere, if you're arrested, you're produced in courts within 24 hours. This does not apply. They even get claymores, weapons, and just put it on you and say, okay, this guy, I check this guy. Let's say a Canadian guy goes, X person goes to Sri Lanka and they want to frame him. They will get a claymore and say, I got it from his bag. What are you going to do? Who is going to save you? No one can save you. No law can save you. No laws can save you. They will frame you in such a way you cannot get out of it. So this is a very important thing, and in a developed country, going from Canada and just going through all this mental, physical torture is enough. I just can't take it. That's what I came back and I filed a case. So this has to go through, and there should be justice done for me. Thank you.